We're recording today from the reception office of the New Hope Church office. Just as a reminder that New Hope is open. The office is open on Mondays. Come in on Monday. You can find somebody pretty much at any time. During the rest of the week, we're in and out. Give us a call ahead of time just to make sure before you come in. So on Sunday, Memorial Day, we are breaking our steady march through the book of Mark. What we're going to do is we're going to look back at what we have seen so far and then look ahead a little bit at what all of this means for us. So I thought that this week, one of the other things that we could do, if you remember early on, I mentioned that the um, the structure of the book of Mark has a lot to do with the questions about who Jesus is. So I thought we'd look back at some of those questions. Not so much in the book of Mark, but in the book of Luke, chapter 5, verse 21. During the episode when Jesus heals the man who is paralyzed, he bends down, looks at the man, and says, "Your sins are forgiven." The Pharisees and the teachers of the law began thinking to themselves, who is this fellow who speaks blasphemies? Who can forgive but God alone? Now, if you remember when we talked about that, when we studied that passage, we saw how it was that this just broke the Pharisees' expectations of who the Messiah would be, who any person can be. There was one way to forgive sin, and that was to take a sacrifice to the temple. But Jesus looks at the man and forgives his sin. Who is this man who forgives sin? We've got to remember that one of Jesus's primary purposes was to come and forgive us of our sin. Our sin keeps us from God, and we tend in the culture that we live in today to ignore sin. In fact, we pretend like it doesn't exist. Way back in the 70s, a psychologist named Carl Menninger wrote a book called Whatever Happened to Sin. And in that book, he said that society was moving in the direction of denying the existence of sin, denying that moral absolutes actually exist. If you want to do something, that's fine for you. If I want to do something, that's fine for me. He said that we need those moral absolutes, not only to keep our society in order, but to keep ourselves as individuals in order. If sin doesn't exist, how do I get rid of my guilt? I either deny that the guilt actually exists or I live with it. Sin is important. It's important to recognize the existence of sin because we can be forgiven. Forgiveness is a freedom that God grants us. So what do you need to be forgiven of today? God is ready. Jesus kneels at the foot of your bed saying your sins are forgiven. Just come to me. Give me that sin so that I can forgive it. Tomorrow, we'll continue with our questions.